After several days of hanging in between the pinions of the Uncompahgre Hills just outside of Montrose, Gary and I decided to head east towards the town of Buena Vista and hang out in the mountains around Buena Vista with a much better view, hopefully and better weather. As we headed east towards Gunnison, we noticed lots of road construction, which is fairly typical for this time of year. In winter, you can't get much done, but at first I was a bit annoyed of having to wait. But the slow ride through this section of highway that I never really get to see much in detail because of the corners and the traffic, and it's actually a very tight road. But this time, regardless of the dust and the cars in front, I was able to get a better look at the surrounding environment and terrain and all the rock stuff that was hanging off the side of the highway before we started entering into the Curacante National Recreation Area, which is beautiful. And this is all desert-ish. My understanding from the locals is it's apparently in some kind of a rain and snow shadow. So hence a lot of people like living over here in the Gunnison area because the temperatures for Colorado are much more mild, less snowfall. So it's a very attractive place for a lot of folks that want to live in Colorado but don't want to deal with the feet and feet of snow every year. And apparently doesn't get much rain either, but it's rather hot compared to the rest of the state. It seems to be a little bit lower elevation than a lot of places, but as we rolled through Gunnison and turned north up towards Buena Vista, things started to cool off a good bit. Yeah, so I'm going up this road just to, I just came down it, but I want to make sure that Gary can get up and down it, because otherwise it's a little bit tricky. But I'll show you. It's got sand on it, it's rough, it's steep. I don't think he'll have trouble with traction. I just think, I think he's going to have to use a lot of clutch control, and I don't think he's there yet. But I want to go up and just kind of make sure. So I just we're completely out of water, so I had to go into town to get some water. We got food, we just don't have any water. And I just happened to roll by a liquor store and I got some whiskey. So that's what we're doing when I get back to camp. We get hydrated once again. Let's see how this road does. Now this road may not look like much to a regular rider, especially somebody that rides in the dirt often. But there's a couple of tricky spots, and I'll point them out as we get to them. The first one was a kind of a hairy rock garden right around this corner, and it's tricky. It's a lot of offset rocks, little baby heads. Maybe the biggest obstacle is the sand, but it's not that deep, even though it looks like it's deep. And this is the start of the rock garden. It takes a little bit of a navigation, unless if you're on a dirt bike, this is nothing. You just punch it and ride over it, no big deal. But going slow, especially if you're loaded down with a big heavy bike, I had to go slow because I was casing out on some of the rocks. And then this tricky section here, a little switchback with some real bad ruts over here on the right side. And I wasn't real comfortable with Gary riding on this because he's on a really tall bike, and it's been several years since he's ridden in the dirt. But just checking it out, it should be something that everybody should try, but it's kind of tricky. And this is a typical day of weather, and the view outside. Most days we were here, it rained at least 15-20 minutes every day. Some days it rained 2 or 3 hours. All right, so this is kind of what it looks like every afternoon here. Most of the time we get a few sprinkles. But the scary thing is the storms that come in and bring the lightning. That's a little bit terrifying. Because we're on a mountaintop after all. And I'm on a mountaintop on top of a hill. And there's quite a few lightning struck trees up here, so they obviously strike a good bit up here. Just hoping I'm not the victim here. It looks like some pretty good rain's coming down. Seems like it rains down in Buena Vista mostly, and you can't really see Buena Vista, but it's over there. And then you see Gary back here. He's chilling underneath the tarp. Just did a live stream test, and that's my little camp spot there, and Gary's behind the trees over there. And then all the weather's right over there. It's kind of cool. I like stormy weather. I just don't like being below the lightning. I like seeing the lightning from very far off. That's the way I like to. Well, I think pretty much I like all storms like that. I would like them to be a mile away or more. So I'm going down the hill to pick up Carl because he asked me to text you. You wanna meet me in town, or is there something easier? And I said, well, the easiest thing would be to meet you at the bottom of the hill. And he said, okay, I'll just drive through Colorado until I see a hill. It is so very tall. So yeah, it's quite a few turns on this dirt road, and he would most likely get lost. So, and there's a few tricky spots like this one right here, rutted out. And he's loaded down, so I feel bad for him. Well, I feel bad for everybody that's coming to camp up this road. It's not really that bad. It's just, it's a bit intimidating. it's a bit intimidating with an unloaded bike. But this one's much better, I think, than the other road, which is about, I don't know, 2 or 3 miles towards Buena Vista. Yeah, there's 2 or 3 tricky spots on that one. This one it's just some ruts and some sand, no big deal. No real hard climbing, no real hard braking. Just, you know, ride to the bottom of the hill, make a few turns. I'm also going to see if I can scout out a creek. I'm pretty sure there's going to have to be a creek up here. There's a creek that runs down this valley. And I'm pretty sure it's going to run across the, what's a big pile of dookie? I wasn't there the other day. I wonder what that is. Yeah, anyway, this road across the highway, I'm going to scout it out. Got time. See if I can take me a quick shower. At least wash the hair. And if I don't, I'll just hang out at the stop waiting for the call. I know he's excited to get here. And this is a hell of a spot for a first time adventurer to Colorado. We got a pretty damn good spot. It could have better internet. It could have less wind, but it shouldn't wind. The temperatures are just about perfect. The view is spectacular and you know, relatively easy to get into town and get supplies. And if I can find an easy access creek down here, it will also be easy access water. Nowhere near as easy access as creekside camping, but it can have everything. Except these aspens are pretty awesome. And maybe horse food. It's the second pile I'm going to see. That'll make a lot more sense than I felt walking down the road. I still think, Bear's gonna walk down the road. We've already seen that, saw that in Wyoming, right? Walking down the road, proud as you can be. So what I guesstimated his time of arrival at 4:15, probably more like 4:20, but I figured I'd shave 5 minutes off on it, make sure I was back at the spot. And just so he doesn't ride by. I'm sure he's tired. He probably got up before the sun came up today. Good last night in the hotel, and you know, it's his first long trip, so I get it. Hot as fuck, you probably didn't want to die of dehydration. Careful, it's slick right here. That's funny as shit, man. So did you find the hill? Were you looking for the hill?
I was like, is that the fucking hill?
That's the fucking hill, man. I told Gary what you said. He's like, ah. I was like, that's Carl. That's classic Carl. I'll just ride y'all see the hill.
You said, bottom of the hill be better. Okay, I'm just not gonna see the hill.
It's fucking great.
Fuck, man. This is fucking just
It never ends. That's why I said.
Bullshit.
That's why I said, get into fucking Colorado and take your time.
Oh, exactly.
It's,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
it's like you get in the mountains,
Colorado.
like fuck,
Exactly.
you know.
Yeah, man. Just pay attention. Where's camp?
It's about 4 miles, 5 miles. This road's not real tricky. There's a shortcut down here, but it's kind of tricky. I wouldn't take your loaded bike up there. So this has got ruts. Got a little bit of sand. You can see the sand. Don't worry about the sand. Just don't do hard inputs. You know, that's that much sand. And
Just get a little gas, just like out.
stay in the tracks where there's sand and where there's ruts. Just try to follow my line. That's probably the best thing to do. And yeah, we'll be there in a minute.
Make sure you join us next time as 2 more adventure motorcyclists join us at camp, and they're both strangers to me. I've only talked to them online. Check them out next time. See you then.